They say you should never judge a book by its cover, but today we are judging Black Book. I'm here to talk about Black Book. Now, I'm playing this over on the Xbox Series X, and this is kind of an interesting game because it doesn't quite work the way it first appears. You're met in the announcement trailer with a lot of really interesting art, but what's not exactly clear is that this is a point-and-click game mixed with a card battling system. For those who aren't quite familiar with card battling systems, this gives you a handful of cards chosen at random through your deck. The deck is something that you're able to customize and pick and choose what your defense cards or attack cards are. And then in each battle, it plays out in a turn-based kind of setting where you send your cards towards the enemy can respond in tune with the same or different cards, and you each have a life bar. When it's over, somebody is declared the winner. Now, that's just the battling system. The rest of the game is all a point-and-click type of adventure game. Now, that's something that I'm not super familiar with, but getting into this one as one of my first attempts at this genre, it actually hit me pretty well, I have to say. The storyline for this game is absolutely the standout. You are put in the place of this young girl as she ascends these ranks up to a witch. Now, the story is told through a lot of different characters, and everything is really well voice acted as well. So it kind of blends into this nice storytelling element. It feels almost as though you're playing a movie out, but the subject matter of the story is really interesting and what kept me in the game. Despite its slow progress, the game action-wise is quite slow. The card battles are very interesting, but between there, you can easily get lost kind of exploring the world, not really doing your objectives, and just kind of spending time taking in the scenery. The storyline and the environment and the scenery, it all centers around, I believe, some Russian Slavic mythology surrounding witchcraft, demons, and that kind of thing. It's really cool for me.
Only 6 remain.
Now, just before I move on to other things, I want to address the point-and-click adventure part of this game is actually really involved. It's not something that I'm familiar with, so I don't know how this compares to others in the same genre, but you're able to explore this overworld, pick and choose what kind of locations you move along to, and each one of them seems to have some sort of event that plays out. You may find some innocent people that need help, you might just find demons that you have to fight to progress, but each of these locations that you jump into are pretty open and expansive, and you have a lot of different options for how you want to progress through it. For example, there's one mill tower that you can climb in through the side window and take a little bit of health, or if you're good and explore the area first, you find an old axe that you can use to break the lock of the main door. So some of it has a pretty straightforward answer, but other parts of the game have you being creative and trying to find the easier way through the level. For the card battling system, I want to address the difficulty. This game is very customizable. As you go through the adventure, you can get more cards, you can create cards, you can destroy them in favor of other cards, and you always have this deck that you can flip out. It has to have a minimum of 13 cards in it, but that allows you to strategize and kind of work different cards with each other to get better effects. It is quite interesting, but when you come up to fighting a demon, a lot of the times their health bar is really big, and yours is quite small, and you have to really play intelligently. You can't just mess around with your turns, otherwise you're gonna be stuck at that wall for quite a while. I mentioned the voice acting before, and that's something that I want to circle back around to, because This game is entirely voice acted, and there are so many characters, so many interactions, lots of dialogue to go through, and the voice acting was done in really good quality. I really appreciate that there was voice acting, first of all, because reading this would have slowed the whole pace of the game down. And with the story that they're telling, it's much better to have that voice actor telling you and narrating what's going on, dealing with each other. It's much more effective than if you were left to read it alone. Otherwise, production level on this game seems very high quality. It's not hyper realistic, and that's of course not the focus. It's very obvious early on that there's sort of a Tim Burton dark cartoon look to everything. And that's something that I really appreciate because it matches the demons, the world, the lore that you're dealing with. It matches that very well. I don't want to get into too much more about the story or the game really without getting into spoilers, and this is a very much adventure for an individual to go through. It's hard for me to impress on you what things work and what don't as in regards to the story. It's really up to each player to kind of find their interest in it and maneuver through it that way. If I'm gonna sum this up and put a nice little score on it, I have to point out the things I enjoy. This is a new genre to me, and it was quite slow, but it did have enough action to it, and the story is really what leads the experience. That's a super good positive in my books. The voice acting was really well done, and I like the different range of characters that you go through. The world looks really cool and dark, and you're dealing with demons. It's really interesting. It's exactly my sort of aesthetic. But if I'm going to put a nice number on this one, I believe this is a 7. It is going to push away a lot of people because it's slow paced, but if you can stick with it, there is quite a good game here. Black Book is a very story-centric point-and-click adventure game with great audio and visual value.